Hey guys, I'm super excited to be catching y'all today as I am chatting with Deanna McBrearty about her new book called Start With This, which I have right here. And I've started reading it, but I haven't finished. Of course, like New Year craziness has kind of gotten in the way, but I'm really excited to finish reading it because the parts that I have taken in, I just think that it's such essential reading for dancers. I'm excited to hear what Deanna's main focus was behind it, but I'm also thrilled to chat with you and hear all about your background in dance and kind of what inspired you to write the book in the first place and who you hope it touches. So why don't you go ahead and give us a little of your background, your dance story.
Okay, well, I started at 9, but did not stick with it. That was with an older woman called Miss Troll in her living room holding onto an armchair.
Oh, wow.
So that was just a taste of it, an introduction, and all that my town could offer, really. So then at 12, I decided to take it up again and to go to a real ballet school. And that was a half an hour from my home, so we had to drive and do that commute daily after school. And so that took a dedication on my parents' part. I quickly sort of thought that I was good enough after the first week of classes to audition for SAB, and everybody was like, don't do it. Don't put her down that lack of confidence if she doesn't get in because it's competitive. But honestly, maybe I smiled enough. But Gary L. Whittle, who was in charge of the children, she accepted me, and that was for their Saratoga program. So not the summer course, the official SAB, it was the dance with them in Circus Polka for the summer. But that's the real taste that I had. And so that did drive me. I was like, yes, I want to do this. I want to be part of this company, and I love this. And it put the impulse and the drive in me to put more training in. And so I went to Wilkes-Barre Ballet Theater for 12 and 13 years old, but after the SAB summer course, so I did the Saratoga thing, and then I auditioned for the summer course the next summer and got in. And that's when SAB said, nah, your training isn't where it should be your age. So we suggest you go to a better school that you study intensely, and we'll see you next summer. So at 13, I decided to move away from home because my mom researched Central Pennsylvania Youth Ballet was the best one. And that was in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, 2 hours from my home. But if I wanted to do that, I'd have to move in with a host family because my father couldn't leave his job. He'd lose seniority. So, all the sacrifices that family makes along the way for you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so I did that. And I was diagnosed with scoliosis at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Dance, you have to have surgery, you have to have a metal pin put in your back, give up your dream. That was my first taste of, here's an obstacle. I'm limiting you. Are you going to limit yourself? I moved anyway. And I said, no, that's not going to be my story. I moved in with a host family. They prayed over my back every day.
Oh, wow.
Scoliosis was healed in a month.
Oh, my gosh.
Which I was like about 38 and 42. I was S-curve.
Yeah.
So that was a crazy story in itself, and then just gave me even more power to believe in myself. And I studied at CPYB for 3 years, so until I was 16. Continued with SAB summer courses, then got asked to stay for the full year at 16. Was in the school studying, and you do workshop every summer.
Right.
Hopes to try and get asked for the company. And at 18, after workshop, I was invited into the company. There were 5 of us, and I didn't even have a lead in workshop. I was
wow.
And it bothered me that I didn't have a lead at the time because I was thinking I'll never get chosen. But again, you have to tell yourself, look, all things are possible. It's up to you and your head and your mind and what you know you're capable of, and you just keep pushing forward. And fortunately, I got in, and it was the dance for, and I was there from 18 till age 30, 12 years.
That's amazing. Were you always naturally positive and like seeing these as opportunities, these sort of obstacles as opportunities?
I call it naive.
Oh, okay.
The less you know, sometimes the less you can be bothered by.
Yeah.
Coming from a small town, I had no idea the competitiveness. I had no idea the talent that was ahead of me. All I knew was what I wanted. I was willing to work on for myself as an artist. How can I better myself? How could I top my game? And I was willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
that's just that naivete of having tunnel vision is what made it work.
Yeah. Awesome. What inspired you to write your book?
As soon as I left the company, I wrote it all down. Actually, while I danced in the company, I always kept a journal, and I wrote for Dance Spirit and Dance Magazine, and I always kept a journal. And so how I started writing for them is because I was just talking to a friend on the bus in New York, and the editor of Dance Magazine happened to be sitting on the bus. And I was
no way.
all my stories.
Yeah.
And she was like, that would make good content. Would you ever consider writing? Well, sure. I already write it down. And so that's what I did, a journalistic to the different articles that I would give to them. And so when I left the company and had an entire treasure chest, it's literally like an old 1920s chest that my great uncle gave me, some books in there. And I just, I always taught too. So I always wrote and I always taught. And so for my whole career, being a mentor to other students, it was just, I needed that. I looked for that in other dancers because I didn't come from a family of the arts. I didn't come from a family of knowing the ropes. So being inquisitive is always good. That's how you learn. And I would study other artists, study their videotapes and their performances, and write all those notes down to try and better my own artistry. So I took all those notes, I compiled them into the voices of all the inquiries of my students. Okay, this is how I'm going to form it. I had to first know my demographic of, 11 to 25, pretty much. And then I have to not narrow my audience and write about what everybody can relate to. Yeah. That's pulling from yourself, that inner strength that's just going to get you through. How do you have those conversations with yourself? How do you take something that was an obstacle and turn it into something positive? I put it all down, and it took me 10 years. Because of course, I have 2 kids, an 8 and a 10-year-old. Yeah. And life happens, and I didn't necessarily know that I was going to pursue to be a writer one day, but it's more just continuing to have my dancer voice. And I still train and mentor and coach. And so I'm repeating all those stories daily anyway. Right. Yeah. I think that all dancers sort of try and find, what is my identity? What is my voice? Who am I as an artist? Who am I off stage? But then we're so vulnerable on stage to giving up ourselves that you really do have to know how much you're going to give and who you are. Because once you give that out, and if there isn't acceptance, are you okay with that? You don't get to choose your audience. It's a subjective career.
Absolutely. Well, how would you kind of sum up like your overall 12-year experience dancing professionally?
I think that I took advantage of every opportunity that I could. I wasn't always cast in the lead or solo, but I understudied well. Yeah. Quickly, and I made sure I knew my stuff and that I was a conscientious dancer in the background. And a lot of my opportunities came from them seeing that I knew it, and a dancer getting injured and me getting thrown on in 45 minutes. And usually it would be a lead. Yeah. The show must go on. And I think just not standing sour in the back and judging myself against others, I was competitive with myself. I wanted to see how I could push myself. And so in my career, I think I got a lot of opportunities. I got a lot of leads. I was very happy and in the company, enjoyed every moment I got to perform. I think I tried to remain grateful for being able to be in front of an audience and do my craft and my passion. I mean, that's the thing. If you're in a career in the arts, it's a passion. It's not a job. Yeah. You're really throwing yourself in there. And so if you think about it, who is it for? Yeah. Yes, it's for the audience to influence them and give them some escapism, but it's for you. Right. So don't let the other stuff pull you down. There are going to be people that like you and people that don't like you. People that are looking for a certain aesthetic and people that aren't looking for that aesthetic. And so it's not about you if somebody's opinion isn't choosing you. You have to know your own truth. That's what I tell my dancers a lot. That's the main thing I tell them all the time. Know your own truth. It's what you stand for, what you know you're capable of, and how you want to grow.
Absolutely. So who is the book for exactly?
Young students aspiring to be an artist. Or it's for people in the world that loved dance at one point in their life, that maybe used to train and they have moved on to a whole different career, but appreciate the effort that goes behind being dedicated to something. So it's not just narrowed to dancers, and it could be any other kind of artist too that could relate.
Yeah.
And it could be for parents that are trying to understand their child's passion too.
Yeah, that's huge. I think, like you said, there are those dancers who come from families like my family. There are no dancers. I'm like the only person who has any coordination at all. That's not true. My brother's coordinated. He'll get offended if he hears that. So, but everyone else. Yeah. But it's so true. I think that, you know, especially when dancers get to a point where, like, you know, they want to dance professionally in a company, or they're going even the dance college route. If parents don't really understand what that means, it's very hard for them to give the support that might be needed.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are different levels involved.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, you have to follow it. If it's in your heart, you want to see it through to a certain degree.
For sure. So I loved the spotlight lessons in your book. What made you include those?
Just being able to keep it positive. Because there are incidences and like I said before, obstacles that happen that could easily be read one way or another way. And you either push through it, and because the reality is when you're going on stage every single night, the audience has no idea what affected you during the day, nor do they care. Right. They paid for their ticket. They want to see a good show, and it's up to you to be that character, be that presence, and be the art form. Now, the drama that goes on behind the scenes could help you if you let it help you. It could give you that fire to be stronger, to throw more emotion in, you know, use it in that way, in that capacity. But I feel like that's why I had to sum up. It first started as just summing it up in a paragraph, the moral of the story at the end of the chapter. But then I thought, you know, not everybody's going to have the same experience. So let me line it out as a spotlight lesson as to, this was my experience, but that's individual and that's me. You may have a whole different experience, but might be able to relate to mine. Right. And here are the factors that could help you get above that experience.
Yeah.
Or
go ahead.
If it was a good experience, be able to not, you know, get above it. That's like if it was negative, but if it was positive experience, how can you be grateful for it and not take it for granted? Yeah,
for sure. And do you have a favorite one?
Favorite spotlight lesson?
Yeah.
I like them all because they're meaningful in different ways, and they kind of come together to say the same message, which is to sort of keep your own inner strength. Know yourself well enough, and if you spend time trying to know yourself well enough, you'll be able to handle any situation. But the first one, where I guess it's about not putting limits on yourself and dream big, is so important to just dream big, even if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You've dreamt it, you've set a certain goal, you do the steps in between, which you can be grateful for every single step along the way. It's not like it has to be the end all. It could morph along the way. And if this door didn't open that you dreamed of, you did all the steps to get you to an equal door. Right. You know, it's a matter of at least having that dream in there, because if you're putting limits on yourself and then other people do, you're only going to listen to their limits, because you're not going to know how to dream past it. And the world is filled with a lot of opinion.
Oh yeah. And dance and beyond.
Right.
Yeah. And now, young dancers are so very faced with all of that via social media, constantly
Yeah.
random people giving their thoughts and opinions on things. And it's like, oh, wow, there's so much more to navigate now.
Right. It's true.
So you give some really detailed stories of like behind the scenes stuff that happened for you at City Ballet. And, you know, you like talk about specific people in the company and like Peter Martins and things like that. Did you have any fear in putting out that information?
I kept journals my whole
Yeah.
career. So what I wrote was not digging back in the cobwebs of my head. It was as it happened, when it happened, verbatim conversation. I have no fear because it was my experience and it was what happened. And I don't hold anybody responsible either, because my path was the choices I made while I was in it.
Yeah.
And whatever experiences happened to me, whether it was juggling personalities of a choreographer or handling the letdown of being taken out of casting, or maybe given a role that I had to do that was a lead that I only got 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Everybody else doing a lead gets 3 weeks.
Yeah.
An hour and a half rehearsal each. Not any part is ever rehearsed longer than that, probably. But, there are a lot of things that you could look at and say it's unfair, or a lot of things that you can look at and say there was judgment. And, but if you become a dancer, your body's your instrument. So accept the fact that it's going to be looked at and critiqued. But maintain your truth. What do you know about yourself? Are you being truthful to yourself? Are you being healthy? Are you doing the most that you can? I volunteered myself before to do a gig for free. I will go for free. I will pay my expenses. I want the opportunity and the experience. I mean, it's putting that extra bit in because you care, because you want it, and because you know what you're capable of, and because you know where you can grow. I can grow it more by getting this extra attention, but it's not given to me myself. I'm going to try and find it where I can gain it. And so, no, there was no fear, because I took it all for what it was worth and turned it into, how can I turn this into, I guess, benefit me versus her.
Yeah. And it seems like as it goes along, I guess, with the whole spotlight lesson concept, whenever you shared those stories, you did talk about what you learned from it, or like how you moved through it. And I think that that's so important, because I think a lot of times dancers can feel very alone when they go through these things, almost not realizing that, so many dancers have similar experiences, but that there can also be a lot of value in those challenging times in dance.
Well, right. I mean, whether you're a young student or you're in a smaller company or a larger company, you're going to be faced with life. Things going your way, things not going your way, casting you like, casting you don't like. And it's basically, how do you want to map out your experience, and how do you want to be left with that experience? It's such a joy to be able to get up on stage and perform for an audience and be given that gift to offer. And so you have to put the grit in and the perseverance that it takes to continue and to do your craft.
Yeah. Do you feel like ballet companies have taken on the responsibility of supporting the mental and physical health of their dancers?
I think that's grown. That's grown, through the years. But look, if you're going to invest in a racehorse and not let them run the race, it's that sort of mentality. You're not going to invest in a dancer and then have them get injured constantly. So you're going to, at least in my experience in New York City Ballet, is they would analyze. And Marika Molnar, she would think about, okay, she's West Side Dance Therapy, the group that always led us. What's happening here? What's the pattern? What even is in the repertory this season that I've seen injuries from the past seasons when that repertory was in? Are there ballets that were dancing in sneakers? I'm going to start to see some injuries on the top of the arches. Let's be proactive. Let me do bone scan studies. Let me do certain exercises, dole them out. She started to create different balance boards and stuff. I mean,
Right.
they really do manage and think about injury prevention. So that's definite. And then about nutrition, and the company was always good about, hey, I have an injury. I'm going to take care of it, but I'm going to be back as soon as possible.
Right.
They would ask you every day.
Yeah.
Did you go to therapy? Or are you back now? No matter if it was for 2 weeks that they were asking you straight, they wanted you back, and you were back in all 4 ballets. You weren't just back picking and choosing.
Yeah.
This one will be easier on me. So you had to make sure you were ready to be back.
Did you have any injuries during your career that you had to go through that sort of thing?
I did. I was out for 6 months with an injury to my left foot, and it was undiagnosed. It was just swollen nerves. And that wouldn't go away on their own. And I ended up eventually with a cortisone shot to my foot. But that was the worst time. Not being able to step off a curb without being, not being able to put my point shoes on, but being able to put my flat shoes on, being able to get through a class so they think you're okay, and you're being judged like she's good, she looks good, she's fine, but you can't get on point, so you have to say no. And then all these ballets that you love are going, you're getting replaced. It's like, am I going to get my roles back?
Yeah.
So the mental stress that goes with that.
Oh, it's huge.
Huge. And you just have to know that not being stressed is going to help you heal faster. You have to focus on going back to the drawing board, gaining your strength again, and knowing that you'll be all the better for it. And when you get back in there, the likelihood, unless it's a chronic, shortness of a tendon or something like that, a chronic injury, the likelihood of it coming back again is low, because you put the focus in. Yeah. Reap what you sow. If you put the time towards that focus on gaining the strength from the injury, then the other people who are doing the fast-paced life of performing every night, not having time to think about the training part of it anymore, you can actually get ahead because you're taking the time. So, it's all brain juggling, but that was the only major injury I had.
That's good. And, relatively speaking, not bad. Right. And what would be sort of like your biggest piece of advice or like wisdom that you might impart upon a young dancer who's pursuing dance professionally?
I think just put some grit and perseverance in the game. Know your truths, like I said before. And that's so important, because if you continue to take the time to think about who you are, what your goals are, what do you want out of this, and how much are you willing to put forward, you'll realize that even when you're really good at the top of your game and people are choosing you, it's not up to them. It's not up to them where your career goes and what goals you need. It's up to you. And so even if you haven't made it there yet, that's the same truth.
Absolutely. One of my favorite quotes is it's the one that's something like, looking at these things happening as not happening to you, but rather happening for you. A lot of times I think in dancers will feel like, oh, he doesn't like me, so this is happening. Or, it's easy to feel like there's all these external factors that you have absolutely no control over. But if you can see even those things as like, how can I move on from this or move forward from this? Or, take a lesson from this so that I have that grit or build that grit anyway and perseverance to go on. It's really important.
I like that because, if it's happening for you,
then
it makes you step back and say, okay, well, what is the reason that?
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, where can everyone find you online, Deanna?
I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
And I post a lot of positive messages on there.
Awesome.
And a lot of dance related stuff. And that's at Deanna McBrearty. And then I have a website, DeannaMcBrearty.com. And then my book is on Amazon.
Cool. Is your book linked through your website as well?
It can be purchased on my website as well.
That's so awesome. Well, like I said, I'm really excited to share this book with the whole dancer audience, because I do think that it's like vital reading for them, honestly. I think that there are so many lessons in there that they could definitely use at any stage in that pursuit of dance. And I think that it's going to be really useful for many of them to kind of see what your experience was and to be able to take something from it. And,
Yeah,
it's always,
the idea is
yeah,
they take a little, bit of a seed that I could plant.
yeah,
Have to help them with their career.
right. And just like feeling less alone.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.